Ariana Grande wants to make it easier to vote. The singer is working with
Important thing in the entire world is how can we support the people that we love and how can we be our most empathetic selves.
A charged evening in the nation's capital unfolded like a scene from a dramatic screenplay, with the weight of history and the pulse of modern media converging in one monumental moment. The skies over Washington carried a cool dusk as throngs of onlookers, reporters, and political aficionados gathered in a vast open forum. The event, originally scheduled as a cultural showcase, had evolved into a stage for an unprecedented clash between celebrity activism and political power. At the center of this maelstrom was Ariana Grande, whose career had long been celebrated for its musical brilliance and whose foray into political commentary had earned her both passionate supporters and vehement detractors. Moments before the confrontation, whispers had circulated that she would deliver a performance far beyond the typical realm of pop music. A performance with a potent political message that would challenge the newly minted presidency of Donald Trump. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. From the moment Ariana Grande stepped into the spotlight, it was clear that her presence was both a culmination of months of impassioned advocacy and a catalyst for a broader cultural reckoning. Her reputation as a vocal advocate for Kamala Harris during the tumultuous primary season had already positioned her as a counterweight to the divisive rhetoric that had permeated the election cycle. Tonight, however, she was not merely the voice of dissent. She was the embodiment of a movement that questioned the very foundations of political theater and celebrity influence. The atmosphere was electrified by anticipation as she took center stage, her eyes scanning the crowd with a determined calm that belied the intensity of the moment. The venue itself had transformed into a symbolic battleground. Luxurious lights intermingled with the soft hues of twilight, casting a glow that made every gesture, every note, seem imbued with meaning. The stage, normally reserved for musical performances, had been reimagined as a forum of ideas, where the barriers between art and politics melted away. In the midst of the hushed murmurs, the air was thick with expectation as every onlooker sensed that this was more than a mere performance. It was an act of defiance, a deliberate challenge to a political establishment that had long been associated with authoritarian rhetoric and polarizing policies. Ariana's entrance was marked by a serene confidence that immediately resonated with her audience. In the weeks leading up to the event, she had meticulously prepared not only her performance, but also the underlying message she intended to convey. Her unwavering support for Kamala Harris during the election was well known, and it had become a rallying cry for a significant segment of the population disillusioned by what they saw as a return to outdated ideologies. As she began to perform, her voice rang clear and unwavering, transcending the boundaries of music to become a declaration of resistance. It was a moment where the chords of pop culture vibrated with the urgency of political discourse. The event took an unexpected turn when, midway through the performance, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. The normally celebratory music was interwoven with a palpable tension as Ariana transitioned into a series of statements that directly addressed the newly elected President Donald Trump. Her carefully chosen words were laced with an assertiveness that left no room for ambiguity. She was challenging the legitimacy of his victory and questioning the ideologies that had propelled him to power. The phrasing, the tone, and the deliberate pauses in her delivery all spoke of a deep-seated resolve to counter the political narrative that had brought Trump to office. The rhetoric was not filled with personal invective, but rather steeped in a call for accountability and an invitation to re-examine the values that had been overshadowed during the election. Across the stage, in a space reserved for the highest echelons of political authority, President Trump was in attendance, his presence a stark contrast to the vibrant energy emanating from Ariana. His appearance at the event was meant to signal an assertion of his newfound mandate, a demonstration that his victory was unassailable despite the persistent critiques that had characterized the campaign. Yet, as Ariana's performance unfolded, it became increasingly evident that the carefully constructed image of unyielding confidence was beginning to waver under the force of her message. Her words, both lyrical and pointed, cut through the usual placidity of celebrity performances, transforming the event into a political spectacle that captured the attention of every corner of the nation. The dialogue that emerged from this encounter was multifaceted. It was not merely a confrontation between two individuals, it was a collision of distinct worlds, one rooted in the traditional corridors of political power and the other in the dynamic, ever-evolving landscape of popular culture. Ariana's approach was to engage with the audience on an emotional level, using her platform to articulate a vision of democracy that was inclusive, forward-thinking, and fiercely resistant to regressive policies. The implications of her words were far-reaching. They reverberated through the hearts of millions who had felt marginalized by a political system that seemed increasingly disconnected from the lived realities of ordinary citizens. In that charged moment, the performance transcended the boundaries of a musical set and became an overt act of political engagement, echoing the sentiments of a generation that was no longer willing to remain silent. The narrative of the evening was layered with symbolic gestures. Every note of her music, every carefully orchestrated pause was imbued with meaning. The deliberate interplay between melody and message allowed Arianna to navigate the complexities of political discourse with an elegance that few could replicate. It was as if she had taken the raw emotions that had characterized the campaign trail and distilled them into a performance that was both captivating and confrontational. The energy on stage was infectious, drawing the audience into a collective experience that blurred the lines between entertainment and activism. As her voice soared, it seemed to shatter the confines of the conventional political arena, offering a glimpse into a future where the power of art could serve as a formidable counterbalance to entrenched political narratives. At the heart of the confrontation lay an unspoken dialogue about the role of celebrity in shaping public opinion. Arianna had long been known for her musical talents, but tonight, her performance underscored the potential of popular figures to influence political outcomes in ways that extended far beyond the realm of entertainment. Her passionate stance was a reflection of a broader movement that sought to harness the cultural capital of the arts to challenge the status quo. In doing so, she not only redefined the parameters of celebrity activism, but also sparked a conversation about the responsibilities that come with wielding such influence. The event raised probing questions about the intersection of fame and power. When does a performance become an act of defiance? Can a song or a statement reshape the political landscape? These questions loomed large as the crowd absorbed every nuance of her delivery, each note resonating with the fervor of a populace eager for change. The implications of the confrontation reached beyond the immediate setting of the stage. It ignited debates in social media forums, think tanks, and academic circles alike. Scholars of political communication marveled at the spectacle as a case study in how cultural figures could galvanize public sentiment and challenge entrenched political hierarchies. Media analysts dissected every moment, arguing that the event was a turning point, a moment when the art of performance intersected with the mechanics of political power in an unprecedented way. The convergence of celebrity and politics, once considered a peripheral phenomenon, had now taken center stage in a discourse that was as much about identity as it was about governance. Observers noted that the evening encapsulated the spirit of a transformative era, one where the lines between the political elite and cultural icons had become increasingly blurred. In the immediate moments following the performance, the tension in the air was almost palpable. The energy that had built up over the course of the evening was not a transient outburst, but a sustained force that demanded attention. Every member of the audience, from the most ardent supporters of Ariana's vision to those loyal to the established political order, found themselves caught in a moment of collective introspection. The confrontation was more than a personal clash. It was a mirror reflecting the deep-seated divisions within the society. A society grappling with the challenge of reconciling its past with a rapidly evolving present. The event underscored the power of symbolism in politics, where a single performance could encapsulate the aspirations and frustrations of an entire generation. As the performance reached its crescendo, it became clear that Ariana Grande had orchestrated more than a mere musical set. The event was a meticulously crafted spectacle designed to highlight the disconnect between a political leadership that had relied on divisive rhetoric and a cultural movement that championed unity and progress. Her words carried the weight of conviction and were delivered with an authenticity that resonated with a wide array of audiences. The performance was a declaration that the power of the people was not confined to the ballot box, but could be manifested in the collective expression of dissent and hope. In that defining moment, the symbolic act of destroying the persona of President Trump on stage was not about personal vindication, but about reclaiming a narrative that had long been dominated by fear and polarization. The convergence of entertainment and politics in this singular event also opened up a broader dialogue about accountability and the use of influence. In an era where political leaders often cloaked their actions in rhetoric that appealed to base instincts, the performance served as a counterpoint, an insistence that accountability could also be pursued through the creative arts. Ariana's approach was not rooted in personal animosity. It was a measured and deliberate effort to question the legitimacy of a political system that had, in many eyes, lost touch with the very ideals it professed to uphold. The power dynamics at play were complex, weaving together strands of cultural identity, political dissent, and the transformative potential of art. The event became a testament to the enduring power of expressive freedom, a reminder that when voices from diverse spheres come together in pursuit of a common cause, the impact can be nothing short of revolutionary. Throughout the performance, the stage became a canvas upon which the narrative of resistance was vividly painted. The interplay of light and shadow, the dynamic shifts in tempo, and the palpable emotional cadence all worked in unison to create an atmosphere that was at once mesmerizing and thought-provoking. Each moment of silence was as eloquent as the notes that filled the air, speaking to an audience that was acutely aware of the stakes involved. It was a display that transcended the mere aesthetics of performance, entering the realm of political symbolism where every gesture and inflection carried the potential to inspire change. The event was a vivid reminder that the battle for the soul of the nation was being fought not only in legislative halls and campaign rallies, but also in the hearts and minds of those who dared to challenge the status quo. The convergence of these two worlds, celebrity and politics, was underscored by a palpable sense of urgency that had permeated every aspect of the evening. As the performance progressed, it was evident that the stakes were high. The cultural symbolism of Ariana's act resonated with a population that was increasingly skeptical of traditional political narratives. Her unwavering commitment to her ideals, combined with the raw emotional power of her performance, had created an atmosphere in which even the most entrenched political figures could not ignore the force of public sentiment. The dialogue that emerged from the event was not confined to the boundaries of the venue. It spilled over into every medium, challenging perceptions and igniting discussions about the nature of power, representation, and accountability in modern society. The symbolism of the confrontation was further enriched by the historical context that had led to this defining moment. The political landscape in the months leading up to the election had been marked by bitter rivalries and deep-seated ideological divides. The bitter contest between two very different visions for the country had left its imprint on every facet of public life. In this charged environment, the emergence of a celebrity figure who had openly supported an alternative vision represented a bold repudiation of the divisive strategies that had characterized the election campaign. The performance was a reminder that political discourse could be elevated beyond the realm of sound bites and social media feuds to embrace a more nuanced, passionate, and ultimately human expression of dissent. Ariana Grande's performance was not an isolated incident, but rather the culmination of months of advocacy, artistic expression, and a persistent quest for a more inclusive political dialogue. Her journey from the world of chart-topping hits to the arena of political confrontation had been paved with moments of both triumph and controversy. Yet on this evening, the convergence of art and politics reached a zenith that few had predicted. The decision to stand up and challenge the prevailing narrative was a testament to her resilience and an affirmation of the power of conviction. The event served as a vivid illustration of how a single act of courage, expressed through the medium of art, could reverberate across the spectrum of political discourse. The immediate implications of the event were as profound as they were multifaceted. At its core, the confrontation challenged the conventional wisdom that political legitimacy was solely the province of institutional authority. By taking the stage and articulating her vision with such passion, Ariana Grande had redefined the parameters of political engagement. Her performance underscored the idea that political accountability could be pursued through channels that transcended the traditional boundaries of power, offering a template for future acts of civic resistance that were as creative as they were impactful. In a time when the public's trust in established institutions had been waning, her message resonated as a beacon of hope, a call to reimagine the relationship between the people and those who governed them. In the midst of the charged rhetoric and the clashing symbols of power, the event also raised fundamental questions about the nature of political discourse in the modern era. The collision between celebrity influence and institutional authority had exposed the vulnerabilities inherent in a system where narratives could be shaped by the charisma of an individual rather than the rigor of policy. The performance was a poignant reminder that the tools of persuasion and influence were evolving, and that the traditional methods of political debate were being challenged by a new wave of cultural expression. The implications were far-reaching, hinting at a future in which the boundaries between art and politics would become increasingly porous, and where the power of a single voice could alter the course of history. Throughout the unfolding of the event, the imagery evoked by Ariana Grande's performance resonated on multiple levels. The deliberate interplay between her musical expression and the gravitas of her political statements created an arresting tableau that defied easy categorization. It was a moment of profound cultural significance, one that encapsulated the tensions, hopes, and contradictions of an era marked by rapid change and persistent conflict. The performance stood as a testament to the enduring power of artistic expression in the face of political adversity, illustrating how the emotive power of music and the clarity of a well-articulated vision could combine to challenge the forces of division and discord. The encounter, as it unfolded in the public arena, was as much about the symbolic dismantling of entrenched power as it was about the articulation of a hopeful future. Ariana Grande's direct engagement with the icon of political conservatism represented a shift in the dynamics of public debate. In the charged atmosphere of the evening, every note sung and every word spoken served as a repudiation of the old paradigms, signaling the emergence of a new form of political engagement that was as much about emotional resonance as it was about intellectual rigor. The moment was historic in its audacity, a clear indication that the forces of popular culture had found a powerful new voice in a time of national transformation. The narrative that emerged from that night was one of dramatic confrontation and enduring symbolism. As the performance reached its climax, the lines that separated art from politics, passion from policy, began to blur. The event was a stark reminder that the contest for the nation's soul was being waged on multiple fronts, and that the influence of cultural icons could be as potent as any political declaration. In that singular moment, Ariana Grande had not only challenged the established order, but had also ignited a discourse that questioned the very nature of political legitimacy. The symbolism of her act transcended mere rhetoric. It was a bold statement of resistance, a call to awaken the collective consciousness of a nation that yearned for change. The power dynamics of the evening were underscored by a palpable tension that wove through every aspect of the event. The stage had become a crucible for ideas, a place where the ancient struggle between differing visions of leadership was played out in real time. In her performance, Ariana Grande had harnessed the emotional energy of the moment, channeling it into a message that was both defiant and inspiring. The implications were clear. The traditional barriers that had long separated celebrity from political discourse were dissolving, opening up new avenues for expression and engagement that promised to redefine the relationship between the governed and those who governed. As the performance drew to a close, the resonance of the encounter lingered in the minds of all who had witnessed it. The message delivered on that stage was not one that could be easily dismissed or forgotten. It had been an event that captured the spirit of an era marked by profound transformation, a moment when the interplay between culture and politics reached a fever pitch, illuminating the potential for artistic expression to serve as a catalyst for societal change. The confrontation was a microcosm of the larger debates that were reshaping the national landscape, a vivid illustration of the power of ideas when they are expressed with conviction and clarity. The implications of the event extended well beyond the immediate shock of the confrontation. In the charged moments that followed, discussions arose about the role of influential public figures in redefining the parameters of political debate. The performance served as a powerful reminder that the power of art was not confined to entertainment alone. It could also serve as a formidable instrument of political critique. In challenging the narrative of authority, Ariana Grande had illuminated the potential for creativity to disrupt entrenched power structures and inspire a re-examination of long-held assumptions about leadership and representation. By the time the lights dimmed and the crowd slowly dispersed, the echoes of the performance continued to reverberate through the public consciousness. The encounter was a vivid demonstration of how a single act of defiance could spark a wider conversation about the direction of national discourse and the nature of political power in an age where the boundaries between art and politics were rapidly dissolving. It was a moment that underscored the transformative potential of cultural expression, a reminder that the battle for the soul of a nation was fought not only in the halls of government, but also on the stages where voices of conviction could be heard. The event, with all its dramatic intensity and symbolic power, left an indelible mark on the landscape of political engagement. The confrontation was not simply a clash of personalities, it was an assertion that the power of ideas, when coupled with the emotive force of artistic expression, could challenge even the most entrenched political institutions. It represented a moment when the public was invited to witness a radical reimagining of the dynamics of power, one that called into question the legitimacy of conventional authority and championed a new paradigm rooted in inclusivity, creativity, and a fervent desire for progress. In the charged glow of that historic evening, as the interplay of light and sound faded into memory, the narrative of the event continued to pulse with a vibrant urgency. The performance had become a symbol of defiance and hope, a beacon that illuminated the potential for transformative change. It was a reminder that the forces shaping society were not immutable, that the clash of ideas and the courage to challenge the status quo were essential to the evolution of a vibrant, dynamic democracy. The resonance of Ariana Grande's confrontation was a powerful illustration of the ways in which cultural influence could serve as a counterbalance to established power. Her performance had distilled months of political tension, ideological strife, and the passionate energy of a divided electorate into a moment that was both cathartic and revolutionary. The event's implications reached far beyond the confines of the stage, permeating the broader dialogue about accountability, representation, and the transformative potential of art in an era defined by rapid change. As the memory of that charged encounter continued to inspire debate and introspection, it was evident that the significance of the performance lay in its ability to encapsulate the essence of a pivotal moment in contemporary politics. The narrative of the evening was one of audacity, of an unyielding commitment to challenging the established order, and of a belief that the power of art could serve as a rallying cry for a more inclusive and accountable future. In that historic moment, the boundaries between celebrity and statesmanship had blurred, revealing the potential for a new era of political discourse, one where the passions of the people could find expression in the creative acts that define our cultural landscape. This transformative encounter, as unforgettable as it was contentious, invited those present to rethink the very nature of political power. It challenged the conventional wisdom that the authority of an office was derived solely from institutional legitimacy and electoral victory. Instead, it posited that true leadership might also emerge from the willingness to speak truth to power through mediums that resonate with the human spirit. The event thus served as a powerful reminder that the battle for the national narrative was being waged on multiple fronts, from the polished corridors of government to the vibrant stages of cultural expression. Every aspect of the event, from the careful choreography of the performance to the deliberate choice of language and imagery, was a testament to the evolving nature of political discourse. It was an evening that underscored the belief that the fight for a better future need not be waged solely through legislative battles or electoral contests, but also through the bold expression of ideas and values in ways that captivate the imagination and inspire collective action. In that luminous moment, the stage became a microcosm of the broader struggle for progress. A struggle in which every note sung and every word spoken carried the weight of history and the promise of a more enlightened tomorrow. The encounter, etched into the annals of cultural and political history, stood as a stark reminder that the power of art and the power of political conviction were not mutually exclusive. Instead, They could converge in ways that redefined the boundaries of influence and reshape the public discourse. It was a moment of reckoning, a moment when the traditional barriers of authority were challenged by the raw, unfiltered expression of passion and purpose. The performance was an audacious call to reimagine the ways in which society could hold its leaders accountable, to embrace the idea that the spirit of resistance was alive and thriving in every chord, every lyric, and every impassioned plea for change. In that defining hour, as the echoes of the performance slowly subsided into a reflective silence, the implications of the event continued to reverberate across the cultural and political spectrum. The narrative was one of transformative potential, a declaration that the realms of art and politics were not as distant as once believed, but were intertwined in a dynamic dance that shaped the very essence of the nation's identity. The encounter was both a challenge and an invitation, urging all who witnessed it to consider the power of creative expression as a vehicle for social transformation. The evening's events, imbued with a fervor that transcended conventional political rhetoric, represented a turning point in the dialogue about power, influence, and the role of public figures in shaping the future. Ariana Grande's act of defiance had not only disrupted the carefully crafted narrative of political authority, but it also illuminated a path forward. A path where the voices of the people, expressed through the universal language of art, could inspire a reawakening of democratic ideals. The performance was a clarion call, a stirring reminder that the pursuit of justice and accountability was a shared endeavor that could be enriched by the creative contributions of those who dared to challenge the status quo. In that unforgettable moment, the stage became a battleground for ideas, where the powerful fusion of music and political expression created a legacy that would be remembered for generations. The encounter, with all its complexity and symbolic resonance, stood as a testament to the enduring belief that art had the power to transform society and to galvanize a movement that transcended the limitations of traditional politics. It was an act of cultural bravery, a decisive moment that captured the imagination of a nation and set the stage for a future in which the power of artistic expression would continue to serve as a potent force for change. The charged energy of that evening, the interplay of passion and political conviction, left an indelible imprint on the collective consciousness. It was a moment when the dynamics of power were redefined, when the influence of celebrity was harnessed in the service of a higher cause, and when the boundaries between the personal and the political were irrevocably transformed. In the wake of the performance, the significance of the event resonated deeply, serving as a beacon for those who believed in the power of art to challenge authority and to inspire a renewed commitment to the values of inclusivity, accountability, and hope. By the time the night drew to a close and the lights faded from the stage, the legacy of that singular event was firmly established in the minds of all who had witnessed it. The performance, marked by its bold declarations and its unyielding challenge to the established order, had captured the essence of a pivotal moment in modern history. A moment that would continue to inspire debates about the intersection of art, politics, and the power of public expression. In that transformative encounter, the narrative of resistance was not only written in the lyrics of a song, but also inscribed in the hearts of a generation ready to embrace a future defined by courage, creativity, and the unrelenting pursuit of justice. Every facet of that historic night, from the charged atmosphere of the venue to the resonant clarity of Ariana Grande's performance, contributed to a narrative that transcended the immediate confrontation. It became a story of cultural transformation, a vivid illustration of the potential for creative expression to challenge the established order and to redefine the contours of political engagement. The implications of the event, as they unfolded in real time, spoke to a broader truth about the evolving nature of leadership and the role of influential figures in shaping public discourse. The convergence of passion, creativity, and political conviction on that unforgettable night had created a moment of historical significance, one that would be studied, debated, and remembered for years to come. It was a performance that defied easy categorization, a complex tapestry of sound, vision, and ideology that challenged the assumptions of what it meant to be both an artist and an activist. As the echoes of the event continued to reverberate through the corridors of power and the hearts of the people, its implications remained clear. The future of political discourse would be forever altered by the fusion of art and activism, and the stage was set for a new era in which the power of the people could be found not only in their votes, but also in the songs that spoke to their deepest hopes and fears. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Ariana Grande calling out President Trump after supporting Kamala? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.